Jamsin Entertainment.
What's up? Today I have a throwback review for you. The Land Before Time, my personal favorite childhood movie. The story opens up with narration explaining the events of what's actually going on in the world. So there's a parallel. You see through narration what's actually going on, and then you see it from the dinosaur's perspective. It's quite interesting how they do it. Our main character is named Littlefoot, a brontosaurus, or in the movie called a long neck. He's traveling with his mom, his grandmother, and grandfather to the Great Valley, because he was born at the worst possible time, the dinosaurs apocalypse. Early in the adventure, he runs into Sarah, a triceratops, or a three-horn, and they start playing and having fun, but then her father intervenes and says, "Three-horns do not play with long necks." And being that she's a daddy's girl, she takes his side and leaves. This leads to Littlefoot asking his mother, why would he say something like that? Why can't we just get along? And she says, well, that's the way it's always been. Long necks have been with long necks. Swimmers have been with swimmers. Flyers with flyers. And three horns with three horns. That's the way it's always been. We never interact. And he finds that baffling. Why? And no explanation is really given to him, unfortunately. Yeah, you guessed it. Next comes the villain. The most awesome villain in a dinosaur movie you can get. T-Rex, or Sharktooth. He's wreaking havoc everywhere, scaring off the long necks, the three horns, the flyers, the swimmers, everyone. In the middle of all that, there's a huge earthquake happening. While Sharptooth is causing chaos, he spots Sarah and Littlefoot, and he chases after them. And he almost catches them until Littlefoot's mother intervenes and starts fighting him. In the middle of their fight, Sharptooth bites a huge chunk out of Littlefoot's mother's back. But she gets her shot in with her tail, whipping him into a ravine. The three of them get to safety, and Sarah goes off on her own way to find her parents. Littlefoot and his mother find a place to rest, and she's telling him, I might not make it. And he can't quite understand why. And she says, if I don't, you have to keep moving on. You have to make it to the Great Valley and find your grandparents. And he asks, how can I do that if you're not with me? And Sarah tells him, I'll always be in your heart. So follow your heart, and you will find your way there. Unfortunately, she dies shortly after that, and you can see that Littlefoot is emotionally distraught from then on until he meets Ducky, a big mouth. Ducky does her best to cheer Littlefoot up the moment she meets him. She points out the similarities that I'm separated from my family too. Why don't we travel together? So they team up, and they soon meet Petrie, a flyer, who ironically can't fly. And he's the most comical character because he's like, I flew? And Ducky's like, no, you falled. And then the three of them meet Spike, or more accurately, Ducky finds Spike and hatches him. And the four of them run back into Sarah, who's the stubborn one and says, no, I can do this alone. I'm a three-horn. She teams up with them anyway. And there's a back and forth between Littlefoot and Sarah for the best way to get to the Great Valley. And Littlefoot claims that on the other side of this mountain is the Great Valley. And unfortunately, it doesn't turn out to be true. And Ducky, Spike, and Petrie all join Sarah for the so-called faster route. Surprise! The easy route is the most dangerous route. And who comes to the rescue? Littlefoot. The five of them start their adventure again for the Great Valley, and who do they run into? That's right, Sharptooth. They come up with a plan to get rid of Sharptooth once and for all. It involves a body of water too deep for him to swim in, and Ducky to be the bait, and Spike, Sarah, and Littlefoot are going to push a huge rock on top of him so they make sure he sinks to the bottom. Our heroes vanquish Sharptooth and continue on their journey to finally find the Great Valley. So for me, the movie holds up 25 years after the fact. I still love it. It's still great. I see the flaws in it, but I brush over that because it's just an awesome movie. The narration, the story, the animation, the effects, and the music all come together very well. Going back to the narration, as I mentioned in the beginning, how it's different from how the dinosaurs see it. The uh, the continental shift, for instance, the narrator says continental shift. The dinosaurs just say earth shake because they don't know that that's a continental shift. They just think exactly what happened to them, an earth shake. The story is really well written. It touches on the ups and downs of friendship, how prejudice is dumb, how to deal with loss, and how to keep pushing through anything. And they go through quite a bit. The animation is quite amazing, even for the late 80s. They show an array of emotion in the characters' expressions throughout the entire movie. And the depth they give to a 2D movie is astonishing. The musical score is fantastic, done by James Horner, who is up there for me when it comes to movie composers, John Williams being number one. To top the music off, it has one of the greatest friendship songs ever, If We Hold On Together, performed by Diana Ross. I highly recommend Littlefoot. It's got great story, great narration, great music, great animation, and it's about dinosaurs. Your kids will love it. Heck, you'll even love it. I'm an adult. I love it. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you think others will like it, share it. If you really liked it, hit the subscribe button.
Live your imagination.